Congrats, Sony. Somehow, you were able to make a very decent Venom movie without even having Spider-Man. Yo, what is up, guys? And it is Adam Mc80s with Mc80s Entertainment. I think this is the first movie review I'm doing on this channel. I did one back for a movie critique of Star Wars The Last Jedi back when that first dropped, but this is my first movie review on the channel, and I'm very excited to be doing that with you guys. Today I'm going to be reviewing a little movie called Venom. And yeah, Venom just dropped, just dropped my Spider-Man. But yeah, it just dropped this weekend, and my wife and I got a chance to go see it, and I was very skeptical going in to see the movie. I'd done another video, which I'll leave the link in the description below, a little while ago about how I think this Sony Venom could be transported into the Marvel MCU, and that's not happening now. It was just a fun theory. But I've been a big Venom fan since the Lethal Protector series back in the 90s. I read that when I was a kid and I was a huge fan. And that's actually what this movie was based off of. They kind of used some elements from that story and they tied it into this overall movie that came out. I know a lot of people are like, oh, how you can do a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Because, you know, like, Spider-Man was like the whole reason Venom even exists. I was one of those people. And I got to see the movie. It's actually not bad at all. It seems like they took elements from Ultimate Spider-Man with a little bit of the Lethal Protector series, which I think is kind of a spin-off of the Amazing Spider-Man series, and they kind of merged it into one overall story with some of their own original elements. I mean, the original story of Venom, of course, is it's the alien symbiote suit that Spider-Man finds in space during Secret Wars. He brings it back, and then he has it for a little while, finds out it's an alien, gets rid of it, and then it goes on to Eddie Brock, and they both had gripes against Spider-Man, merged together and made one little pretty character that couldn't wait to pound Spider-Man's face in. But in the Ultimate Universe, the suit was created to cure cancer. And it would, I believe, it would eat cancer cells or something like that, and then it mutated and became to be more like the traditional Venom. And then it went on to Eddie Brock and thus then became Venom. So it seemed like they are kind of merged a little bit with that. Because the villain in this movie is the Life Foundation. Life Foundation was in the Lethal Protector series. It seemed like they just kind of merged everything into one big happy symbiote soup, which honestly was really, really entertaining. The movie itself, I know critics are kind of comparing it to the pre-MCU superhero movies, and I can feel that because the movie itself doesn't really have any tie-ins with any of the... You don't hear Tony Stark mentioned, you don't hear the Avengers, Spider-Man, anything mentioned like that. But the movie itself left it open enough where you can feel that, okay, if this does well enough, which it's making millions of dollars, they left it open where Venom could possibly join the universe of the current existing MCU. Don't know if they're going to take that route because it seems like Sony is kind of taking their own approach right now with their own kind of Spider-Man without Spider-Man cinematic universe, because I know the Jared Leto Morbius vampire movie is supposed to be setting up soon, which I think would be really... I'm also a little skeptical about that too, because I'm not as big of a comic geek that I am. I'm not really familiar with the character of Morbius. Like, I know he's a scientist who turns into a vampire. But if they're somehow able to incorporate Blade into that, and I've been hearing that Wesley Snipes may be reprising his role as Blade. I mean, I've been seeing a couple rumors on social media here and there. If they're able to tie that in with an upcoming Blade movie, and it's like Wesley Snipes and Jared Leto, like, team-up movie almost, and they just team up together and fight evil vampires, that would be so cool. And it'd be really nostalgic for all the 90s and early 2000s fans of the original Blade movies. Coming back to Venom, I really liked it. I know the critics had a lot of negative things to say about it, but the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is super high right now. And I just have a habit of taking sympathy on superhero movies that get bad reviews from critics, similar to Batman vs. Superman. People will tell you that I absolutely loved that movie. It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Whether you liked it or hated it, I'm one of the people that loved it, and I stand by Zack Snyder all the way with that movie. But yeah, I was most concerned about how they were going to handle where exactly the symbiote came from in the movie, and they took nearly the same exact approach that the animated series did with how the Spider-Man animated series back in the 90s. They took that approach with how that happened. John Jameson fun little tidbit fact, J. Jonah Jameson's son, that's right, Parker J. Jonah Jameson, he was the astronaut, one of the astronauts that were on the ship that found the symbiotes as it was crashing back to Earth. So the movie opens with slight spoilers. The ship crashes to Earth. All the astronauts are killed except for Jameson. The symbiote possesses him and then makes the EMT vehicle crash that picked him up. And then it possesses another one of the EMT workers, and you don't really know what's going on with that symbiote. It's going on the hunt for something or somebody. And then eventually we're introduced to the character of Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy, of course, who is, he's almost kind of like an internet reporter in a way. I guess he has his own internet show, but it's ran by like this big network corporation or something. And then after a little bit, we're introduced to the villain of the movie, and I forget his name right now. Hold on. Carlton Drake, played by none other than Riz Ahmed. He's basically kind of like an evil Elon Musk, if you will, in this movie. Like his whole corporation, like they want to send rockets into space and everything, and want to cure cancer and whatnot. And what better way to do all of that than just find random alien goop and start throwing it on the people and see if they merge with it so we can start shooting people off into space, right? Great plan. And then one of the scientists who was helping with the projects with Drake tells Eddie Brock about it and wants him to come and investigate it. And after a little bit of self-loathing and depression, he decides to join her and decides to bring Drake down to figure out what's going on. And then come to find out, he goes into the lab and everything and sees one of his friends is actually in there and is actually possessed by one of the symbiotes. She jumps on him all Exorcist style and everything, all starts trying to tear his face off and choke him. And then the symbiote goes from her then into Eddie Brock. And then he escapes from the facility and discovers that he's like able to jump really high and everything too. He's able to just bust through a tree at one point when he's getting chased by dudes on like ATVs. They're shooting at him. One part he just kind of just jumps up into a tree. And he's just no Wakanda Forever. No Wakanda Forever right now. They're a completely different movie. The symbiote starts talking to him, and similar to some of the stuff that you've seen in the trailers. The symbiote starts talking to him, whispering little sweet nothings in his ear, and then he discovers he has all these crazy abilities. They start sending. Drake finds out that the scientist was working with Eddie Brock, and he sends a group of mercenaries to come in and get the symbiote back, and then he's able to take them out all like crazy alien John Wick style. It's pretty cool. It almost reminds me of the one scene from it's a movie that just came out. Upgrade is the name of that movie. It's kind of a similar concept. The guy gets an AI chip put into his brain and it starts talking to him, and he's able to do all sorts of crazy stuff too. I have not seen the movie, but I have seen a little bit of clips where he beats up the bunch of guys who come into his house too, and I think Venom kind of took some inspiration from that. Now things start progressing forward. He gets chased by more guys and then ultimately becomes Venom. And the scene where the symbiote fully takes him over and he fully becomes the Venom that we all know and love, it's just so cool. I know we've already seen it in the trailers and everything too. The voice is just spot on. The effects, the teeth, the tongue, everything is just great. And you know what I loved about the movie? The symbiote itself was hilarious. Like the banter between Eddie Brock and the symbiote, just Tom Hardy just talking to himself was fantastic. That's another little bit of information that the voice of the symbiote itself is actually Tom Hardy doing that voice too. On the set, he'd actually have like a little microphone, I believe, that was under his chin. And so whenever the symbiote would talk, that would just be him just having to talk back and forth between himself. The special effects were really good. Like the CG was surprisingly good in the movie. Like I know a couple of my gripes with superhero movies is poor CGI. Like especially like, not gonna lie, loved Black Panther and everything, but the CGI in that movie was very lacking. Like the rhinos in the final fight scene in the movie where he fights Killmonger and wherever they store all the vibranium. Like the CGI looked like a PS2 cutscene. You can roast me down in them comments below, but PS2 is PS2, bro. But yeah, the one scene that's really cool, and you can actually watch the scene on YouTube, is where Venom takes out an entire SWAT team. That scene is just so cool, because they're throwing like grenades at him and everything, they're shooting at him, and he's just catching all the bullets and just throwing them around and everything, just using them like hammers and whatnot. It was great. Like I just found it very enjoyable. Like, what was surprisingly good about the movie was the humor. Like, the humor, like, I thought it was just going to be a very dark, serious, like, alien movie. And it wasn't. It did not take itself seriously, which I enjoyed. Overall, if you take this movie as a Venom Elseworld story, because I know the whole entire concept of Venom is his relationship with Spider-Man. And considering the legalities between Sony and Disney Marvel, I know that can't really happen right now, but probably eventually still will. But as of right now, if you just take it as an Elseworld story, like an alternate telling of Venom, just disregard everything you know about the origin of the character, it's actually really, really enjoyable, and I highly recommend you see it. It's just dumb Hollywood fun. Yeah, if you're looking for just a good popcorn flick this upcoming weekend, I'd highly recommend to check out Venom. I mean, I know some things could have been worked better. The villain could have been a little bit better with how they set up Riz Ahmed's character and everything, but ultimately they're all setting it up for the big villain. I mean, spoiler alert, Carnage. He's teased in the post-credit scene. Woody Harrelson has this crazy big red wig going on, and he straight up says that there's going to be Carnage in the upcoming movie. And I do have a fun theory with how that's going to happen. Real quick, I know in the comics, Eddie Brock is in prison, and he shares a cell with Cletus Cassidy, who is a serial killer who eventually becomes the symbiote known as Carnage. And Eddie's symbiote comes to him while they're in prison and breaks him out, and then he busts the wall and breaks out of prison and gets out that way. But as he's breaking out, the symbiote breaks off a little piece of itself and it spawns a little baby symbiote, and then it goes on to Cletus Cassidy and it forms into the red, bloodthirsty, serial killing symbiote that we all know as Carnage. That's how that happens in the comics. But considering that Eddie is not in prison in this movie, his role that he's serving right now, he's still playing his journalist role, and it's actually interviewing Cletus Cassidy. Just as a journalist, the serial killer thing, you know, the typical Silence of the Lambs stuff, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do a play on that. But what I think is going to happen is that Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson's portrayal as Cletus Cassidy, is probably going to incite some kind of prison riot while there's an interview going on or something like that, and then Venom is going to have to stop the prison riot from going on, and in that process there's probably going to be a piece of the symbiote that breaks off and then makes some Carnage that way. Just a little bit of a different telling of the original story, but it's very plausible and honestly what I think will happen. And but yeah, overall I just really enjoyed the movie. I mean, if you just like just dumb sci-fi fun, highly recommend. Gets a resounding Mc80s 7 out of 10 from me. But yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to stay tuned for some future projects. I have some fun theory videos coming up, and I'll be doing some more movie reviews as time goes on. Like I said, you can't take this movie very seriously. It doesn't take itself seriously, so you shouldn't either. Just go in, grab the wife, grab your son, grab the kids, grab your boyfriend, grab your girlfriend, grab the whole family, and just go see Venom. It's a great movie. You'll enjoy yourself. Alright, that is all for today, so be sure to like and subscribe and comment below. Let me know if you liked or hated Venom, because I know it's kind of really up in the air with people right now. Stay tuned for future videos. God bless, and I'll see y'all next time.